Sandling Financial's first interview publication. We recently had the opportunity to interview Adam Lengyel, a business, finance, and accounting teacher at Nonnewaug High School. We asked him 10 questions pertaining to financial literacy, and here's what he had to say. In your lessons, how do you introduce key financial terms like budgeting, debt, and interest to help students develop a foundational understanding of personal finance?
I introduce key financial terms in the daily lessons by reading articles, watching videos, and class discussions.
When teaching students about creating a budget, how do you explain the importance of tracking both income and expenses, and what tools do you recommend for them to use?
I stress the importance of spending less than you make and controlling a budget, and your expenses is a key to having financial success. I recommend students use apps on their phone to help track their expenses and budget their money.
How do you help students understand the different types of debt and the impact of interest on their financial situation?
I try to help students understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, and good debt should be used to turn something into an asset.
How do you approach the topic of savings and prioritizing saving over spending, especially in relation to managing income and expenses?
Saving is the most important thing an individual can do in their life. It takes money to make money. It's important for students to have goals and a plan, and how to achieve their goals. Savings should be an important goal.
When discussing investments, how do you introduce concepts like risk versus return, and how do you explain the importance of diversification to your students?
The greater the risk, the higher the return you need to be comfortable with the level of risk you are willing to take, and only invest your money in those types of investments. Diversification is important to help limit risk.
In teaching about taxes, how do you explain the different types of taxes and the concept of tax brackets to ensure students understand their implications on their finances?
We don't get too in-depth talking about taxes, but we talk about gross pay versus net pay. And the students understand that Uncle Sam is going to have his hand in their pocket while they earn income for their entire lives.
How do you explain the role of credit in personal finance? And what advice do you give students about building and protecting their credit?
It is important to establish and build credit when you're young. Credit is an important tool that should be used very carefully. It is important for students to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, and good debt should be used to help you acquire assets. The most important thing that I stress as students once they establish credit is that they pay their bills on time every time.
When discussing insurance, how do you teach students about the different types of insurance? And why do you emphasize the importance of adequate coverage in their financial planning?
Insurance is an important part of a strong financial plan. I feel sometimes it could be overlooked, but it is very necessary. We talk about all the different types of insurance and when and at what point in your life you will probably need it. It is important to understand that as you go through life, you will need different types of insurances.
How do you approach the topic of retirement planning? And what advice do you give students about starting to save for retirement at an early age?
It is important to start saving for retirement as early as possible. I recommend all students that they do so as soon as they get their first real job out of high school or college. Getting older and retiring are inevitable parts of life, and just like anything else, the more you prepare for it, the better off you will be.
In your opinion, why is financial literacy important for students, and how do you believe it impacts their future financial success and well-being?
Financial literacy is very important. I think it's one of the most important subjects students will learn in school. Financial literacy is important because if everyone uses wise financial literacy skills, then our society and economy as a whole will function better, and we could focus on improving things that are more important, like education and defense.